Òkú mẹ́ta òwòlé Ekiti láyé mi tòrò bí omi ọ̀rọ̀.
Ayé eré ti dé bá alẹ́ Ekiti North Senatorial District torí àti rọ́ọ̀nì oyè káyà aṣojúra nílé ìgbìmọ̀ aṣòfin àgbà l'Àbújá lọ́dún 2019 nínú ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú APC. Senator Olubunmi Adetunmbi ọmọ kan bí sínú ọgbà kéèṣìṣù yọ ọmọ bíbí ìlú Ìfàkì Èkìtì ní kí n jẹ́ àpọ̀pọ̀ mọ́ bù ṣe kókò kan ṣe pẹnu àṣìṣò ipò. Fàdìbò ilé ìgbìmọ̀ aṣòfin House of Senate ká tó ń ṣe ogun rán. Senator Olubunmi Adetunmbi ti ṣojúra rí ó sì ṣe rere. Kàn gbóṣù bàràmàdẹ̀ ń wọ́ọ̀kà.
Senator Adetunmbi.
Senator Olubunmi Adetunmbi ti ṣojúra rí ó sì ṣe rere. Kàn gbóṣù bàràmàdẹ̀ ń wọ́ọ̀kàrí ọmọ ọ̀dọ́ ilé. Torí àyíká tẹ́sílẹ̀tì sóde.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, if we all recall, in the last 10 months, this is about the 4th or the 5th time that this Senate will entertain this kind of motion, except for the differences in location and the circumstances. The content of the motions are the same in terms of the emotions and the severity of the damage to our national psyche. It's on record and the public is watching that this Senate has been taking this motion almost at the rate of 1 in every 2 months of discussing the calamity of bombing, suicide bombing, militancy, pipeline bombing, and all of that. It has become a repetitive ritual in terms of subject and discussion, and is beginning to make a mockery of the resolutions of this Senate, particularly on this subject. We all sat here and listened to the entire gamut of the national security apparatus. And we were here saddled with a very boring and uninspiring and poorly articulated explanation or response or plan to address this issue. Therefore, we are not surprised that it has been happening and happening. And all we get is condemnation and 1 minute of silence. We were short of passing a vote of no confidence on that security apparatus when they came here with their very, very uninspiring remarks and explanations. The question we should be asking is, what could be the problem that as a nation we keep talking about the subject, the same subject, on every 2 monthly basis, and there are several cases of bomb blasts in this country that has not been debated on this floor. There are several, and Nigerians are saddled with this every day. The headlines are saddled with it every day. The news media is saturated with this subject on a daily basis, but yet we have not been able to find a solution. And we are now discussing another motion here like we did the last 4 times. Where is the power of this Senate to make things happen? Where is the power of the Senate? And to make its numerous unanswered prayers before the gods of the executive in Aso Rock to be answered. Where is the power of the Senate to respond to the yearnings of Nigerians that this killing is too much and it is coming too often? And they are saying enough is enough. Mr. President, let's not deceive ourselves. Nigerians are tired of the condemnations of these bombings as we are praying for today. They are tired of 1 minute of silence in memory of the lost ones. They don't want these lost ones to be lost. They are beginning to ask questions. And some of the questions Nigerians are asking: do we have a government?
No. No.
Do we have a government in Nigeria?
No.
If we have a government in Nigeria, please, I need protection here.
I need protection.
Point of order, smarter than. Take your seat, Adetunmbi. Yes.
Mr. President, order 53-4. A senator must confine his observations to the subject under discussion and may not introduce matter irrelevant thereof. It's irrelevant to say that there is no government in this country. There is a government in this country, and we must all agree that there is a government, a democratically elected government by the people for the people and working for the people.
And
he's a member of this government. Yes. He's a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Okay, smart. I have the rule on this. Well, very distinguished colleagues, this is the beauty of democracy. Sorry. Excuse me. Academy. Very distinguished colleagues, this matter is quite serious. What we are discussing here has to do with the lives and properties of those we are here representing. We must take it with every seriousness it deserves. So please, as you rightly pointed out, when you are talking about the government, you are talking about the executive, the legislature, and judiciary. So my understanding of his question is more on the rhetorics. So we have to face the reality, please. So I rule you out of order. So continue.
Point of order.
Point of order, just manager.
Mr. President, my respected colleagues, point of order is predicated upon order 50. This is what? Order 53-7. 53-7. Mr. President, what we are discussing here is a serious matter, no doubt about that. And with your kind permission, Mr. President, my respected colleagues, I would like to read the order. It shall be out of order to use offensive and insulting language. I will explain. Mr. President, I am in government, and somebody is asking, do we really have a government? That is offensive. Order. And of course, Mr. President, Mr. President, and there is a commander. Hold on. There is a commander in chief. There is a commander in chief of the armed forces. And going beyond what we are discussing, I'm on my feet. Going beyond what we are discussing, I do know, as a Nigerian from the southern part of this country, that a lot is happening. A lot is being done on a daily basis by the security forces. Not about that. And then somebody, a distinguished senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria,
he's not distinguished again,
is asking the question, do we really have a government? Mr. President, hold on.
you should withdraw.
Mr. President, with emphasis laid. Mr. President, with emphasis laid. Yes. No, I'm coming. I've not finished.
Sorry, please take your seats. Take your seats. Take your seats. very distinguished colleagues, again, I have to warn about the seriousness of this matter. We are talking about lives and properties of those we are representing. So we need to take it with every seriousness it deserves. Please. So please. So on this issue again, I have ruled on this earlier. We should be able to allow our colleagues to express the opinion. It is important we do that because this place we are sitting is the hallmark of democracy. This is the seat of democracy, and this place is the highest point when we are talking about freedom of speech. So I should please allow our colleagues, and I have not seen. He said it was again. So the point I'm making is that he asked a rhetorical question whether there is a government. I have answered him in the affirmative there is a government. So the answer is it. So Adetunmbi, can you proceed? I hope it's not on this issue because I've ruled on this matter. Point of order, Ahmed.
Thank you, sir. Please keep quiet. Keep quiet. People are not supposed to be talking here.
Chief Whip, can you control the house?
Keep quiet. Distinguished senators, Senate in session, please. If you want,
I have recognized Ahmed Lawal to speak.
Mr. President. Mr. President.
No more. Let's not indulge in escapism.
You want to speak? Raise your hand and speak to the chair.
Well guided. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Ahmed Ibrahim Lawan. I represent the people of Yobe North. Mr. President, I am coming under Order 53.8, and with your permission, Mr. President, I read: No senator shall impute improper motives to any other senator. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I came under this order because it is my conviction and understanding of the submission of our colleague here.
Again, you are interpreting the rules. So
It's all right. You can interpret, Mr. President.
No,
Thank you very much.
Please. You see, I've ruled on this matter, and again, I invite Adetunmbi to continue. No, I'm not taking no order on this matter. Please. Can we allow the district senator to make his point? Senator Adetunmbi. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I only raised.
We have our own with here. You want to talk to us?
I only raised a rhetorical question. I only raised a rhetorical question that speaks to the heart of the concerns of Nigerians, of the need for them to be protected according to Chapter 4 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic, which, with your permission, I will read: that every person, every Nigerian, has a right to life, and no one shall be deprived of intentionally of his life. We are talking here not across religion divide, not across regional divide. We are talking about the humanity of Nigerians and their entitlement to life and to pursue legitimate aspirations. Distinguished colleagues, the theory of failed states is not only predicated on economy and finances. Fundamentally, the first signal that makes a state to be called failed or failing is the absence to guarantee the security of life and property. And that is what we are talking about, whether in form of suicide bombing or not. And that is why I asked that question. 2, people are asking what happened to their elected representative, to the chamber, in terms of the resolutions that their representatives are passing for appropriate arms of government to respond. They want to know. This is the question people are asking. They are not asking for condolences. They are not asking for 1 minute of silence. They are not asking for compensation. They are asking for life. That's what Nigerians are asking for. And we must ask these questions. These questions we must ask as a legislature, because we are here to represent people that voted for us. Something must be wrong with us as a nation if in 10 months we can count hundreds of people that have been killed involuntarily, violently, and nothing seems to be happening, and there seems not to be any sign that this will be abated. I beg to say here that the issue before us is not an issue of Muslims versus Christians. It's not an issue of Christians versus pagans. It is not an issue of South versus North. It is not an issue of ACN versus PDP. It is not an issue of opposition versus ruling party. It is the issue of the security of life of Nigerians. And that is what we are talking about.
The fundamental obligation.
Mr. President.
Look at this.
In closing, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Nigeria has a challenge, and let this challenge not be said to be that of failure of government. Let this challenge not be said to be a failure of leadership. Let this challenge not to be said to be the failure of our public institutions. I so rest my case.